We froze.
Oh, Scano, Sego. Hello, everyone. Look at this special delivery today. Who knew? Self-Care Friday. This is amazing. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. We have a special guest. She won't be here long. She doesn't have to stay, right?
I don't have to stay. Yeah,
she can definitely stay. But welcome, Uncle Mike, Grandmother Renee Thomas Hill, Grandmother Gail Whitlow stopped by, say hi. And today is a wonderful day. Well, it's a little sad because Uncle Mike is finished his 7 weeks of just everything that he shared with us, which was amazing. And you can revisit that on our YouTube channel. And today we are going to talk about the future, creating our future, taking care of yourself. And I don't know, hello. Say hello, beautiful people. Let's start with Gail since she's here with me.
Well, Sego se wakwego. What a beautiful day. The wind is blowing and it's cleaning us our energy and getting us all excited and getting us energized. And that's that's the beginning of self-care, is just recognizing, the power of nature. So the power of nature is like just streaming right now. It just makes you feel so good. So I'm sure that if everybody puts that plan and recognizes the winds for, their healing ability, that's going to be a great start to the presentation, I'm sure.
Aww, yeah. She's so cute. Which cute person is next? Let's go.
You. Tell us what we're talking about today, Jody.
Oh, really? You didn't say hi yet. You don't want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi.
I'm a little playful. The wind has been blowing in my hair today. My dog ran away. I've been out and up since 6 a.m. So I'm a little playful today. I'm not gonna lie. So if I need to get serious, we are talking about a lot of things, but the most important is about ourselves, I think, and self-care and really how we are moving forward today and really being present and conscious about who we are, who we want to be, and how we take care of ourselves and our spirit so that we can support other people. Was that good?
Yeah, that's perfect. You got the job, Jody. You can be the master. You can be the host of Grandmother's Voice forever. Yeah. Okay, my name is Michael Dockstader, and I'm from Six Nations. I'm Mohawk. Yeso Hagenuigatarono. That's the smooth shell turtle, and my family's name is Satigadiwadehirono. And I was asked, how come I call myself Uncle Mike? Well, that's kind of an affectation that stuck to me like glue around the reserve, where I've got a whole bunch of nieces and nephews and all that. But also, here's the other thing about it, too, and I just wanted to explain it to you before I be quiet for a while. In Mohawk, we say Ista. Ista means mother. And Raganeha means father. But we also say for auntie, Istaa. And for uncle, we say Raganeha. So when you refer to somebody who is your mother and your father's age, or somebody like your mother and your father, they're your aunties and your uncles. So Ista is auntie, Raganeha is uncle. And when we talk about why they do that, is that usually those are the ones that are the teachers. You don't teach your own kids. Their aunts and uncles teach them because they don't listen to you anyways. So what the society was set up in a way that reinforced and positively reinforced the development of the children. So largely the education of those kids was over with the aunties and uncles. In other words, everybody was an auntie and an uncle to those children. The village raised them. That's all I have to say about it. And that's why I'm not presuming anything by having the title uncle there. It's just how it is. Thank you for being here today.
Welcome. I'm very grateful for this time, and it's going to continue. It's not the last. what I heard was you said the last. It's never the last. The creator, the ancestors, they said, this is the way and it's going to be. And so everything is already in place. We just kind of say, oh my gosh. But the wind, just like today, the wind brought in the blessings of a future, clearing the path. So everything's going to be continuing of hearing that support, what is needed for the people. And so we say, welcome to our home.
Welcome to our home. So Uncle Mike, you sent me a PowerPoint today about self-care. Are we showing that today? And am I going to be your Vanna again?
Yes, ma'am. Under door number 3. The idea with the conversation today is about people who are not feeling very good these days.
Yes.
People are having a hard time. Whether they're alone or whether they're living with somebody, everybody is frustrated. Everybody feels controlled. Everybody feels like they've lost control of their life, and so on. And so when we come along and we talk about the balance between night and day that we just went through, when we do our condolence ceremony, our washing of the tears, our wiping of the tears, our opening of the ears and opening of the breathing, it's because and a completely fascinating thing about the Ongwahuwe Neha is that Nigon, the root word for mind, is in so many words. Our people were totally fascinated with the mind. Peel it away from your mind, or reconciliation. Gatnigohio, the idea of being practical, common sense. That somehow it's ganigohio now is used to mean like you got a halo over your head, like you're some sort of a holy person, right? But it doesn't mean that at all. Actually, ganigohio is very personal to somebody who has common sense, practical reasoning, right? And Nigo isn't so many words. We're fascinated with how people think. So we're going to deal with death and get that out of the way. Let's get it out of the way. Nothing we can do about it. Nothing we will be able to do about it, right? And we'll try to be fully alive in the present moment for the next hour, okay? And I'll start it off with before we go to the slideshow, with a little story. Freddie and Andy were friends. They were friends for their whole life. They grew up together. They would go to the longhouse together. They would go to ceremonies together. They'd go to socials. They'd go to gatherings, and they got to know each other, and they would see each other. And as they grew older together, one of them got married, and another one got married, and they had children, and they were always together. And as they got older and older, they made a deal with each other. They said, look, whoever goes first will come back and visit the other one and let him know how it is. Oh, well, they thought that was a good idea, so they agreed to that. One of them, Andy and Freddie, one of them, whoever went first, would come back and tell the other what it's like over there, up there. And as they got older, they would go to gatherings and take their lawn chair and sit on their lawn chair and have their cup of tea and visit with each other and talk about this and that. Except one day, Andy noticed Freddie's spot was empty. He looked and he saw Freddie's spot was empty, and he thought, oh, something's coming. Something's here. And sure enough, Freddie had gone on his walk. And that's how we say it. We've pulled it away from our minds that you're starting your walk up there. That you're starting your walk up there. So he knew Freddie was on his way up there, starting his walk. And he felt bad about it. And after time, he was by himself. And one night he was sleeping, and tapping him on the shoulder, he looked up, and there was Freddie. And he was amazed and surprised. And he says, Freddie looked, he goes, Andy, it's just like they said up there. They play lacrosse all the time. I got good news, first of all, that they play lacrosse all the time, and all of our ancestors are up there. And we have anything that we want is up there for us. And it's all, everybody gets to eat, everybody gets to be happy, everybody gets to be healed. And Andy goes, cool, that's really nice. And so what's the bad news? You're leading Godotro this weekend.
That's so good.
So this is the thing that we have to remember. Where we learn from Western Europeans is the fear of the unknown and the fear of death. And in the way we look at things, "Ahwint is the old phrase that they use about the isness of everything. Everything just is. And we're on a pathway down here, but we take our path up there on the other side of the sky world, where there's all kinds of beings and there's all kinds of mysteries over there that we have no idea about. But our purpose here is quite clear about being happy, about helping each other to eat, and helping each other to heal. It's focused. It's very clear to live in the present moment. So I wanted to start with, let's get death out of the way. Let's not think about it. It comes and it goes, and there's nothing we can do about it, nothing we ever will be able to do about it, except, like Andy and Freddie. One day we'll be leading Grand Entry.
That is so nice. Thank you. That just made me feel so happy. I was already pretty happy, but I'm really super, super happy. And when you speak your language, I just have to say I want to cry sometimes because I feel like it's so familiar. It makes me realize that, not even realize, I guess, just kind of brings it to my present feeling that this is really a gift for my ancestors and for my own father, who I know had a really huge desire to want to know his culture. So I'm really grateful to have spent the last 7 visits with you, learning and getting to know you and to just really be in your presence. You are a very big part of my spirit. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'll say this to Gail and Renee, or the Dudas, is that one of the things that we think about is that it's kind of too bad that we lost a lot of our ways of communicating in our language. That the picture images, the way that they talk symbolically, that really was expressive. And I know the Dudas will remember this too. That remember the Porter Boys when they'd sing hymns in Mohawk. It doesn't matter if you went to Longhouse, doesn't matter if you're church, doesn't matter if you're an atheist. When you got into the Steyer's funeral home, and those guys started singing those Jud ga tojine songwawe, everybody would start crying.
Yeah, exactly.
It was always so emotional, right? And though some of us can actually take that language and say it in English now, and actually it is quite an emotional thing to hear when somebody says, "I am greatly startled by the sound of your voice as you come grieving on your way through the forest to this place at the wood's edge. And we give great thanks that you've arrived here safely. For all of the pestilences and all of the calamities that could befallen you, if somebody throw things in your path, or the wild beasts could have devoured you, or you could have saw the pool where your ancestors are and wanted to plunge in there as well, or the hatchet raised outside of the cabin in the darkness. So we give great thanks that you arrived here safely, and we will kindle a fire and we'll smoke together and console each other in very few words as we mingle our tears together." That's the beauty of what's said between people expressing their humanity, right? So anyways, thank you for sharing, Jody.
Thank you for sharing.
So let's get into the picture show now. And I'm going to say this is not, I'm going to go, I think, slide by slide, but I've got a couple of Dudas here that can actually take some of the things that you're going to see and hear, and I would say humanize it or give it the mother. I'm a guy, right? Guys think different. By the way, did you know that there's a difference between men and women?
Really? Yeah. I've been living it for 30 years, Mike.
There's a difference between men and women. And Renee heard about that yesterday. Women have babies, men have visions and all that. We got to really work at it. And we also are fixers. We want to fix the problem right away, right? Whereas women want to or have an idea of being heard. We want to be heard. And we want you to listen. And men say, pretty good. You got a nail in your forehead. Let's pull the nail out, and then you'll feel better, right? That kind of thing. Well, that's men. So there is a difference. And one of the things that I say to women and men is that we have to be educated about each other's differences. Men aren't wrong because they're fixers and want you to pull the nail out of your forehead so that your pain will go away. That's how men are. Expect that from men. And you men, expect that when a woman tells you something, she doesn't want you to fix her problem. She just wants to be heard. That's the two differences in the binary, the two-row binary of males and females on the same path. Okay, so I'll fix things, and I'll ask the mothers to be heard. Right. So let's roll it, because there's some interesting stuff here too. By the way, I think.
Mm-hmm. Silence is the best.
I'm glad you feel that way, because there'll just be a moment.
Yes. Reflection. We're in a moment of reflection right now.
Don't leave us. We're still here.
Yeah.
Okay, so slideshow from the beginning. There we go.
Yeah, we're a little technical difficulty. We're waiting for the slideshow to be up, and we don't have an Indian head test pattern to put on the screen while we're waiting for the technical problems to be solved.
Well, we do.
Oh, I just have to mute us. Okay. Unless you want to talk in the background.
Well, I don't want Gail to leave. I want her to stay for the whole hour and whatever.
Okay, so
I've heard both of these women speak before, and they say things in a different way than each other, and we'll hope to make a nice picture.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll stay on. Yeah, we'll stay on. Can you still hear us then?
Yes.
From the beginning.
Okay, perfect. So we'll stay here, and then we'll just she speaks. Thank you.
Just stay there. Just stay there. I want to talk about being selfish. It's a strange word, because there's this word in Mohawk that is usually translated as being selfish, and it's igadadadi wasnye. I'm looking after myself is what it means. And you hear some people who are raised a certain way say, oh, that's a negative thing to say about yourself. But that's the way that we're taught by other cultures, that you have to be watchful of somebody who's selfish. And I kind of go, well, no, that's not what that means. Because you say, igadadadi wasnya is everybody's right to look after yourself. But there's a but there. So where'd she go? She's the button pusher.
Okay,
where are button pushing women go?
Button pusher.
So the idea with thinking about yourself, all right, and you think about yourself, and we will say then, igadadadi wasnya is your personal liberty to look after yourself. Mm-hmm. You have that right. Nobody can take that away from you. And by somebody saying, oh, well, you're just being selfish, there's a difference we're going to talk about. Now, the idea of warriorship is something that we have talked about too, and that goes with a linked up word called wesaze, which comes from out west. And what that word means, wesaze, is that there's a season of conflict that we're all involved in. Everybody has a job here. The children have a job. The men have a job. The women have a job. The elders have a job. Everybody's part of it. So the idea of warriorship is related to the idea of not the famous idea of the guys with guns and all that, or warriors with clubs. It goes with our word ayonkwaundo, which means the tobacco hanging. And that's the old word for warrior, is tobacco hanging. And where that word comes from is this. In the old days, tobacco was hung in the rafters to cure, but it was also hung in the rafters to protect the house. It was also hung in the rafters in the shadows. So warriorship is not about being outstanding and standing in the daylight. It's about being quiet, but being protective and watching out, watching over the house. So oyonko ondo. And here's one of the teachings that go along with that. And like I say, I don't mean warrior in terms of a male figure. There's the oyonko ondo doesn't say males or females. It just says tobacco hanging. So I think that applies to everyone who is involved in a time of conflict or that season. And one of the basic teachings is this. The warrior has only one fear to overcome, and that is the fear of themselves. You have only one fear to overcome, and that is the fear of yourself. And when you overcome that fear, you have nothing to fear. You fear nothing. And I'll stop there for a second because I want to hear the women's views on this idea of warriorship as not being about attacking anybody. It's about defense. If you attack us, we will defend ourselves. So warriorship, oyo kondo, tobacco hanging, and the idea of, well, where did the PowerPoint go?
Oh, sorry. I thought you wanted to see our face too.
Oh, well, I can see it down the side.
Oh, can you see us still?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's so good to know.
Yeah.
So while our engineer is putting the pictures back up, I'll just remind Duda's, Renee, and Gail that there is an idea of oyo kondo, tobacco hanging. We're protecting the house. If you attack us, we will defend ourselves, and that's the basis of warriorship. Is you have one fear to overcome, that is a fear of yourself, and when you overcome that fear, you have nothing to fear, or you fear nothing.
That's so true. One of the things that we are told too is when you are sleeping and you have nightmares, those are teachers. And one of the things my father taught me is to stop running from your fears. And yes, he says, remember, in your dreams, you're able to fly. Remember, you're able to do a lot of things. He says, so always think about whenever you have a nightmare, when you ever have that fear come up, he says, you have to face it and say, what do you want? What is it that you want? And so when we do that, you can keep running and running and running. But once you face your fears, it's just like, it is totally different. It is totally different. And it really helped out a lot in my life because this is what we have to do on a daily basis. And it goes back to creation story because there was dreams in that time. And she also talked about these tricksters. And so in a sense, our fears are like our tricksters. These tricksters that come to stop us from growing, to stop us from achieving what we need to know. But most of all is having that peace. And this is why hanging, I always think of that, hanging, how we used to hang the white pine over over our doorway. We always hang even tobacco by, and even in our cars. And it's also like a special protector. That's how we're told. Take this and he will take care of you. And so to us, it was like a guardian, someone that's always going to watch over you, especially when our men went in the service, just like Mike and I's father, they went into the service. And I know my grandma would have given my dad a pouch to hold when he went in there. And that's what I did for all my relatives, when they left. That's the first thing I would do is I make them that pouch to watch over them as they were defending. And so this is very, very helpful in times when you become your own warrior. You have to learn how to stand up, to defend your spirit. And that's so important because if you don't defend your spirit, you will stop growing, they say. That's what it's told. The old ones say, you'll stop growing. It's just amazing. This is why I was always told that whenever you have a nightmare, face it, because you have that power. And even having in our room today, some people have dream catchers. Some people use white pine. Some people use cedar in their room so that they can watch over their children. So this has always been a part of our way to guide us and watch over us and to help us whenever we're challenged. And so I'm going to turn it over to Gail, Grandmother Gail.
Yeah, there's so much power, in listening to those old teachings. And I remember when I was being taught about tobacco, I was shown a tobacco root, and on the tobacco root, it's hairy, and was told that just one of those little hairs has a protection like you wouldn't believe. It was so powerful, and so I would think of that because there's so many beautiful teachings about our tobacco, but really people don't understand, like our ancestors did, what it means to be protected, and so we really have to look at how we interpret or how we look at protection. What are we trying to protect ourselves from? And is it man-made protection? Is it something that we have created ourselves, and then we want help getting out of? I mean, there's just so many ways to look at it. So one of my dreams was about this bull, and this bull would see me, and then it would come charging at me, and I'd have to run for cover, and it would be like the horns would be coming through the building, and and so I'd have more dreams, and the same thing would happen, and that bull was always there, and it would kind of scare me, and it was like a red bull. And then one day, I that bull was coming, and next thing you know, I was on its back, and we were riding off into the sunset. And so I had to think about, what does that dream mean? And so what I come up with was, I had to take the bull by the horns, and I had to not worry about that fear that I was in at the time. And so once I did that, the dreams quit. And so I know that I took care of things like in my dream time. So dreams are tied to they're part of us. They're our other self. And so when we talk about protecting ourselves, we also have an other self that needs protection in the at night. And so the rafters, the tobacco in the rafters represents, those aspects that in our daytime mind and our nighttime mind, they come together and they form a total picture of how we can, I guess, create a a a strategy for whatever we're dealing with at the time. So, thank you for letting me share that.
I appreciate that too, because it kind of falls in line with both of you are saying with where we're going here. And that slide there gives you a kind of a roadmap where we're going to go. And it's about thinking, it's about learning, and it's about how. And one of the reasons why we protect ourselves is, I want to be a better person every day. I mean, why wouldn't I want to be? Why would I want to be any worse than I am? So that's, if you wake up every day and say, I want to be the best me I can be today, that's a great place to start. And it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that you're protecting yourself. I gadadadi wasne. I'm looking after myself. I gadadadi wasne. And tomorrow, on gadadadi wasnege, I will look after myself. And that's okay. Let's keep on going. I've got this broken down like that, and so I'll go over the next, I think, 3 slides, and I'll and just go through, and then I'll come back with thoughts from other people. You critically reflect on yourself. You think about yourself. Thinking. This is what thinking is about. Thinking about yourself, and that you have power. Now, here's something that I hear from the social work community and all these people: the empowerment. We're having workshops so that we can empower. Nobody empowers another person. I'm sorry, that takes their power away. As soon as you say you're empowering somebody else, you're taking their power away. And don't allow anybody to take your power away. People don't empower you, but they can help you use the power you already have to change stuff. You have power, but a lot of times that power has been buried under other people's crap that's given to you. So you have power. People never empower you. And if somebody comes along and says, you'd be a better person only if, okay, don't take my power away. Because what experienced teachers like the Dudas say is, you have a gift. Let's find that gift. Now, also understand, and this is where you critically reflect on yourself, you have fears, worries, and threats. What do you fear the most? What are you worried about the most? What threatens you the most? Think about those kinds of things. And that you'll see that there's denial, disorientation, and discovery that you faced in grieving over something, some loss in your life that everybody does. And that your life goes through stages of forming, storming, norming, and performing. That's how you coped, where you form, something new happens, then you storm around, then you get used to it, and then you start performing in your life. So if you think about your fears, worries, and threats, your denial, disorientation, and discovery, forming, storming, norming, and performing in your life, you'll find out that you have the power to solve your own problems yourself. You already have the answers to the problems that you have because you're the only one that knows your story the best. Let's go to another slide here, and I'll come back, or I'll stop when I get through. I think there's 3 of them in a row. Go ahead.
I don't do the forming.
Okay, so the story. This is a big thing in indigenous cultures around the world now. Storying is what a lot of people are doing to say, teach me, I'll be the student, you be the teacher. Teach me the story of your life because it's the story that you know best. And so that was written down by this psychiatrist named Claude Steiner back in the 60s called Transactional Analysis, where he said people have scripts that they live. And how he meant that was this. Sometimes your script was written by somebody else. That's the intergenerational transmission of trauma. And as the slide says, likely it was by your mother and your father. You have coped with your whole life living the script written for you by your parents. So it can either be a story of drama and trauma, or a fairy tale of escapism and delusion, right? As you tell your story, your drama. But there's no exception to this. There's none. No one is exempt from the rule that somebody else, mother and father, have an influence on the way they cope with their life. And healthy people learn to create their own life script. They write their own story. They get to be taught, I can rewrite the story of my life. I have that power to change my life. Let's go again and see where we end up. So this is the trauma thing that is a big part of what we talk about. Healing shame. There's a difference between shame and guilt, right? Shame is I am something bad. Guilt is I did something bad and I'm not going to do that anymore. And so shame is a big part that comes to a lot of people from their younger years. But one of the ways we talk about that, and it goes back to our traditional teachings, was by learning that humility overcomes humiliation, right? Humility overcomes humiliation. Go again, one more slide. And here's what kids are taught by those mothers and fathers, and we all have enough of this. Be better than yourself or you'll be worse than yourself. Oh, excuse me, what? No one can be better or worse than themselves, but you can be yourself because you are enough. And that's how you get out from underneath that idea of somebody else writing the script for your life or writing the story that you have to live, right? Let's go one more and see if this is the end of this section here. Okay, we'll come back to this one, but the story. You have a story of your life, and as the first batch of slides talk about, is that only you know the story of your life, and that sometimes You have to think about the story of your life to give yourself permission if you see something you want changed. Humility, that's the humility part of overcoming humiliation. The humility is, wow, I can learn something.
We do this also from genealogy. We do genogram. This is studying of your understanding yourself, where your behaviors come from. And we also knew that it was like our fire, and your fire can get out of control. And it's up to you. That's what reminds you how the old people would talk about that anger. If you have that anger that's been passed on, you can either let it go, or you can carry it for the rest of your life. And that's one of the most important lessons that I learned in life. Because when your fire gets out of control, then you go into guilt and shame, because you do a lot of things that when you are angry. And when you're in anger, you are angry at someone, you're angry at yourself. But the one that's out, it comes back on you, is you hurt yourself before. And so this is why my grandma gave me a real powerful lesson when I was very young, to help me to understand when people are angry, what they can do. And so it was always, to me, I always think of the fire. How is my fire today? How am I going to be? Is my fire calm, or is my fire out of control? And so I want to prevent myself from carrying guilt and shame. And so I often have to take care of my fire, my spirit. And that's what is so important, because when you have that fire of anger, it affects your whole body. Just saying those words is affecting my body right now. And so I have to learn how to say love, kindness, goodness. And that's my fire again. And so I know when I hear anger, I know where that fire came. And that's how my grandma explained, when someone is hollering, when somebody is screaming, it's because their fire has gotten out of control. And so you have to learn how to control your fire, learn how to put water on your fire. And that's what happens when you're angry, is that you cry. Did you notice that? It's almost like to always just put it down. And also when you're angry, are you always going, you're just snorting. And so what it means is that you're trying to put out that fire. You're trying to put that fire back in that place, that you're taking care of yourself, self-care. You're setting your own boundaries. You're creating that you're breaking down those walls that fire is just like that. It just goes out and it harms. And so this is what I have come to understand, is that all those negative behaviors that starts from the anger, that fire, how it gets out of control. And I'm so grateful that my grandmother had taught me that at a very young age, because I was affected. Like at day school was bullying. I could have carried that on, but I didn't want to. And so my grandma says, come on, we're going to go outside. And she showed me, because she showed we would always burn our garbage. And so she said, at that very moment, she says, pick that rock up. And then I go, whoa, where'd that come from, Grandma? She said, that's how she told me that story. If you pick up that rock, who's it going to hurt first? It's going to hurt you. And so if my parents have their anger, I know I had to stop that. I had to take back my ownership of my fire, to take care of it. And so I'm so grateful to this very day how easy anger can make that path of destruction of self, as they say, guilt and shame.
Well, I guess one thing that we have to look at is, what is our earth walk? Well, our earth walk is a spiritual walk, and I'm not saying a religious walk, I'm saying a spiritual walk, because we came in knowing that we are here for a purpose. As we begin our spiritual walk, we're tested all along, and each test makes us gives us our power, because at first we don't know the real meaning of power. And sometimes that power gets a bit out of balance. And we have to always learn from that as well. So we have to learn at some point that what we really need to do is not put energy into anything that is not good for us. So what I mean by that is, you have somebody who's attacking you. Having somebody who, uh, doesn't have nice words, towards you. And rather than, take it personally, what you have to do is you just have to just ignore it and just say, well, that's not mine. And you have to just learn how to assimilate that love and kindness and purity into your life. And you just have to learn to, like, one of the big things that people get upset about is money. And, sometimes when we get upset about money, what good does it really do for us? What is money? Well, money is simply an energy. Money is not something you need in your hand anymore because you have bank machines and you don't even get to see what it is. Yet this energy of money causes, so many different problems. So the thing, I guess, to remember is, you're walking this path and you're trying to do the best you can to achieve what it is you've come here to do. So when you're going through these challenges, keep your focus on, where it is you're going. And the other thing about that is sometimes, we don't have sight on where we're going, but know that we're where we're supposed to be right now. And then we have today on and this moment on to define what that is for us. So create that path that you want to take, and don't define it by what other people are telling you it needs to be. You define it by who you are and where you want to go. So.
Two real good points that take us to the next level here. But you see the idea of boundaries, like walls that Renee talked about, are actually barricades, borders, and blockades that people set up who are dwelling in the house of shame. It's my comfort zone. I'm comfortable here because I have all the trauma and things that happened to me, and so I barricaded myself in. I live inside that border and that blockade. Don't you dare come inside my I'm calling it a boundary, but it's not really. And there's some of us have actually more simple and clear boundaries. Don't mock my heart. Never mock my heart. Never lie to me. Don't lie to me. And don't accuse me of something I didn't do. Those are clear human boundaries that have nothing to do with your trauma and your shame, right? And so let's keep on going, because I want to pick up on what Gail talked about too, with the idea of spirit. And here's one of the things that we talk about now as we're moving into the idea of doing. How do we take care? And the idea of your spirit is an important part of you, right? Give yourself a shake, you can do this. It's a physical thing. It's you can't, there's no such thing as unjoyful. You can't make up, there's only joy. You either have joy or you don't have joy. But happiness and unhappiness exists. And that is your choice. If you have joy in your life or don't have joy in your life, that's totally separate from happy. And so it's your choice to feel happy today, and give yourself a shake and tell your head how you feel. Convince your head it's okay to feel okay. Give your head a shake, right? And that's the thing that we keep on going. And this is the idea of where the spirit is that Gail was talking about, is in the body. I mean, we know this and talk about it all the time. In the back is fear, in the stomach is anger, in the heart is emotion. And so we know that the fear, the anger, and the emotion is in the body. Uh-huh. That's the spirit. All your anger and all your feelings and all your fears and your emotions are your spirit, and that tells your head how to think. It's not but when we say to the head, okay, let's give everything a shake now, and let's pump out the anger and get rid of the fear and walk and try, and we have a choice about being happy today. Let's go again. I think there's more to this that I want to come back to. And remember this too, and this is part of the selfishness. It's none of my business what you think of me. None of my business. What someone thinks of you is none of your business, good or bad, by the way, too. And that's the humility part of it. People think you're the greatest thing ever, or people think you're the worst thing ever. It doesn't matter then. It's nobody's business. It's none of your business what anybody thinks of you. But you can disarm people who try to bully you. And here's some tips on how to do that by saying to them things, some very straightforward things. I'm sorry that you feel that way about me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can accept your faulty perception of me.
I like that.
I have no right to control how you see me. I guess I have to accept how you feel, and it's not my responsibility if you're angry.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you let go of taking ownership of what somebody else thinks of you, and how you. And bullying is a big problem in our communities. It's a big problem everywhere. But these little tips that you give to people who have to deal with bullies, I think, are an important one. Let's keep on going, and we can come back. I'll come back if you want to. Uh, what's the next one say? Okay, the 4 C's. Remember this. This is why you are told don't take ownership of someone else's pain. What do you say to them? I didn't cause your meanness. I can't control your meanness. I can't cure your meanness. You chose to be mean. These are little things that we, I know those that working with people all the time think about that, with students, with family members, and so on. The big 4 C's: choose, people who choose to be mean. I didn't cause it. I can't control it. I can't cure it. You chose it. I'm not taking ownership of your pain. Let's go one more and see if we. Oh, and here's the other one. We'll stop after this one. We call him an emotional vampire, right? And they get on you and they, pull all your emotions out. But remember this too, and this is after we'll go back and I'll ask for reflections on the 4 C's and so on. You have a right to be treated the way you want to be treated. And if you're not treated the way you want to be treated, you have every right to turn your back and save your soul. Now, you'll hear this said by people. Well, you should stay and work it out. Oh, well, you should go and get this or that, or you should have this or that, and everything like that. Well, okay. People can say that. They can tell you some ideas. But if you're not being treated the way you want to be treated, so I got to say, this is your power now. This is where you don't have any fear of just turning and walking away and saying, there's some garlic. That's my back, you emotional vampire. And you have every right to be treated the way you want to be treated in life. Let's stop there and go back to the reflections part of it. Yeah. Give yourself a shake. Next one. Next one. Keep going forward. Yeah.
The C's?
No, back. There you go. Oh, right. Start here. Go another one. No, next one. Stop. No, go forward.
After the head
Stop.
there? Okay.
Okay. Disarming a bully. It's none of your business what anybody thinks of you, good or bad. And what's the next one?
Am I going back or forward?
Forward. The 4 C's. Don't take ownership of somebody else's pain. And one more. Emotional vampires. So there you go. I want to hear what you women think about that. Whoa, what happened there?
That's a favorite passage, right? I guess you would say, give your head a shake. Give your head a shake. Now, I always remember that. Always give your head a shake. It's just like clear your attic, as they say. But my grandmother went a little further. She says, shake your booty, shake it off. And I'm so grateful that not only do you shake it off here, you have to shake it off your body, because it attaches itself, just like Uncle Mike said. It attacks all the parts of your body. And so if you can do this here, but it's already affected your body, your senses. And so my grandma would always say, wow, that's why they created music. That's why they created dancing. And so this is why we that rattle, those drums, it's so important. It's like you get up. That's the first thing you do is you get up. And that's back to our creation story. When she was in that place of dilemma, she got up and she danced. She took care of all her frustration, all those things that she was dealing with at that time, and she got up and she danced. And so I'm very grateful because anytime I'm feeling attacked, feeling overwhelmed, I have to put on our songs. And when I do that, I'm dancing for the Creator again, to be well again. And so when I dance with that spirit, that fire again, because I'm shaking it off. I said, even Chubby Checkers, he really did the good for us. He give us because all these songs that we grew up with was just to get rid of that. And that's what I hear. They said the 50s, all those songs were good because they were so soothing. And what it was doing was it was erasing all this. Today we're using too high pitched sound. It aggravates our body. So music was a way of also releasing a lot of that tension in your body. And I'm going to go back to the fire because that's how I was taught. And your body knows intuitively how to get rid of it. And this is why we have to build a fire. Because all that gossip, all those bullying, all that affects every part of our tissues, not only our heart, but every part of our body, our nerves, our everything. And so when we build that fire has that gift to us to lift us from that. And that's why we use the fire, because what do we do intuitively after we build the fire? We stand back and we go like this. It's almost to take away all that grief, all those things that we may have touched and picked up, and they went on through our bodies. And it's so powerful when you feel that good heat, feel that heat on your body. It's just like it's taking off everything, all that grief, that negative, all those things. And what do you do after you're done? Your body says, turn around. So you turn around, and there's where you get your back taken care of. Your back is taken care of. You don't have to wear garlic now. So that just that fire can take care. And you're like this, and sometimes it'll scorch your jacket if you're getting too close because you feel so comfortable. But two, also that smoke, it draws itself to somebody in a group. That fire kind of likes to dance around and finds the people that are carrying a lot of grief. And so a lot of people like to move, and meanwhile that smoke will follow them. And it's just like to clear away, because the universe knows how to take care of us. That's what I've been told. And so when this fire, again, takes care of us. And so this is why people are very heavy in their hearts, because the government and society has banned fire, where it used to be our main source. Like people use aspirins and alcohol today and Tylenol. It was to lift our minds. And if you notice, they wondered how we would rise above everything. Every challenge we went through, no matter what we went through, we seemed to come back up and we were smiling. They wanted to know our secret. It was music. They finally figured out, what did they do? They banned our music. They banned our songs. They banned us. And so after that, our people started to look to other sources, alternative ways of dealing with their issues. And we end up like doing things that was harming our bodies. So even this wind, every one of us, oh boy, it was really windy out there. I just was pushed right along, and I had to turn and come back again. So I had to go like this, make sure the wind was taking off all that heaviness, because we have had some loss in our community. And it very we have lost a dear friend yesterday, and it was very heavy in our hearts. And so I had to go out there and when I heard that it was so windy out there, I went out and I had to get brushed off to be cleaned again, because I don't want to be put down so far. And so I get rid of those things that with nature's help. So I'm very grateful that creation is always there tending to our needs and taking care of us. And so I turn it over.
I just love following Renee all the time. We have this dialogue that we can work with really well. So saying that, sometimes you walk into a community and you see the sadness and you see the grief and you see the heaviness, that people carry. It's like you walk into an arena and you sit way far away from somebody, or you just sit there and you're looking sad, and you go into a store and the people waiting on you, the cashiers, they're not into what you want. It's a job for them. And so when I see these things, I think about perception. Perception is what is the key sometimes to overcoming these issues. So if you're deep in that grief, that means you're not breathing. If you're not breathing, you're not able to release that grief either. So sometimes some really deep, boy, I just got to let it out. So you use your breath, or some techniques involve just screaming and just like finding that outlet to release. These things really help to clean your energy, because we're responsible for ourselves, and all sometimes we need is that perception change. When you're deep in grief, so we got rid of that topic like earlier on. But when you're deep in grief, you have to change that perception to one of happiness, because you want to remember, your beloved and all of the positive things that came of their lives. So all of those good times, that's what takes you out of the grief. So you have that 1 year in order to make that change, and it's for yourself, because the departed has already, took their steps into the spirit world, and there's no turning back for them. And so our perception is really important, because it just helps us to know that we're in control, know that we have the power. So do we want to live in that grief? Do we want to live in that despair? Or do we want to put action into our hands? So that's what healing and self-healing is about. It's like, what is the definition of happiness? Well, that's one thing about English, because if you're a serial killer, happiness would be the kill. People have a strange definition of what is happiness. And so that's why language is so important, because it defines your feelings more. It defines it defines the way that you can overcome, these emotions. And again, that dance, those songs, like you walk into Longhouse and everyone is dressed in their regalia and we're dancing, for Creator. What a feeling that is. That's a deep rush. And after we're finished ceremony, no matter, whether it's our ceremonies or other ceremonies, there's a lightness that overcomes us. And it's this lightness that takes us into, that space of, wow, I like this higher vibration. How do I stay in this higher vibration? So that higher vibration then is up to you to feel and then to want more of. And so that happens when you change your perception of something that is, going on in your life, causing you to be in that sorrow still. So I know I don't have a lot of time, so I'll turn it back over.
Well, Mike, did you want me to put the slide back up?
Yes, I wanted you to keep them up.
Okay, Mr. Bossy Pants. No, just kidding. I just wanted to say something, because if you don't mind, I know I'm just the shower, but I do have some information to offer, because we have a guest in the back room, and the word perception came up for me last night, because when when we talk about new information for people, and this is, I'm thinking I'd like to introduce our next uncle that's waiting in the room, because the two of you, to me, and I don't know that this is the right word, philosophers. We talked about this. That's just like talking. Philosophizing is talking. No, right? Don't even go there, right? So when I look at perception, like we started this talk yesterday in the back in Oakville about, and people are showing up and they really want to learn and they want to know. And I like to try to get to the point of things, and how do you explain to somebody to get to that new place of knowing everything you just shared with people. It's, to me, practical. This is a really practical way of looking and understanding what you need to do right now to shift. And so when you talk, go ahead. Yeah.
And there's nothing philosophy about it.
Right.
I'm not here to try to figure out why this happens or how it happened or anything like that. I'm just saying, one of the things that we have a problem with is there's so many philosophers in our world now, especially in the Iroquois, Haudenosaunee, Haudenosaunee, and we're all just arguing about stuff. And I just kind of go, hold on here now.
Yeah.
If you take your finger and poke it in the ground like that, and stick 3 seeds in there and cover it over and water it, in 3 months we're eating. There's nothing philosophy about that, right? But I take your word for it that you want to invite somebody into the room. Can they come into the room and still have the slides? Because we can.
Yes,
I want to
totally.
get to the end of that. Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I'd like to do. I'd like to bring in Dehande, sorry.
Hey,
let me see.
There he is.
Hey, say hi. We're going to still share the slides because I'd love to then also, just keep everybody in the room on this. And you are watching this anyway with us. And, here we go again.
Here we go again.
That's one thing we always have is humor and patience.
Yes. Thank goodness I'm in the right room.
You're fortunate.
Well, while you're getting the technical setup, I'm going to address a couple of things, because the next slide that's coming up is going to be where we're going to go with our little discussion here. And that has to do with the idea that there's a great big feeling that your mind controls your body. So that all we have to do, and there's a whole industry there that says all you have to do is train your mind to tell your body, train your mind to go out to the universe and so on, and all of this kind of stuff. And it's really got people superstitious about thinking about things like that, because your body actually tells your mind how to think. Or, your mind, the body tells the mind how to feel. The anger in your stomach, the fear in your back, the heaviness in your heart, and so on. So go and walk, like Renee said, go for a walk, eat some good food, do something to pump that out of you so that your body can tell your mind how to feel, because it's not the other way around. It's not the other way around. Your mind doesn't tell your body how it's feeling, how you look after, and that comes back to everybody gets to eat, everybody gets to be healed, and everybody gets to be happy. That's the basis of our entire culture, right? And so the last little chunks here, I'll first of all, before I move on, ask Jody, did you have questions that you wanted to address with Dehahande, or how did we want to bring him into the conversation?
Well, we were just introducing him when we're finished. Well, not finished. When we move on, when we flow into the next series, he was coming, and we're actually past our time at 1:00. So I was trying to, just create an intro to him to say hello, and he'll be moving into our next series, and y'all know him, so not really.
Well, we'll come back then and bring him into the conversation as we move along through this next little section here. So everybody has a safe place to go, and this is where once you're overcome your pain, your anger, your fear, your emotions, and so on, go to that safe place. And everybody has one. It's some place that they remember, and they can actually go there in their mind, part of the meditation. Here's a great place I like to go, and that's Grand River. And I close my eyes and go there when I need to, and just try to refocus and get everything off me and go to that place, that safe place. Your safe place might be that chair you had as a child. It might be at your grandma's or your grandpa's house or somewhere. Everybody's got one. Everybody also has a power symbol that they carry around. And you might not even know it. It might be a picture in your wallet. It might be a necklace that your daughter gave to you. I'll show you one that I got. This is one that was made by my daughter Sarah when she was at number 5 school on the res in grade 3, and it's a little corn husk doll. So I didn't even notice it that I had it all these years, and then it was in one of my bags, and I found my power symbol. Everybody's got one. So let's keep on going because I want to hear other thoughts there, Jody. Click. Oh, okay. So here's what we know. This is the universe. It's 134 nonillion kilometers wide. That's a 30 with number 1 with 30 zeros off of it. It's huge. And our universe has 2,000 billion galaxies in it. And there's 10 gajillion planets in that universe around all of those galaxies. It's so huge. Imagine that. I don't even know what a nonillion looks like. I don't even know what 30 zeros look like, but that's the universe. Or what we would say, I think, is Future-Tsi. It just is. That's the isness of it all, right? Okay, I'll come back because we've got a good teacher here who's taught me a lot about language, and I have to come back to him about Future-Tsi. Let's go again. The Milky Way is where we live, and you can see the line down the middle. And they say that we're a star from the Milky Way. We come from there, we go back to there. And it's 1,000 trillion kilometers wide. That's how big it is. This is just our galaxy, one of 2,000. And it takes 250 million years for that galaxy to rotate once around in a circle, right? And there are 250 billion stars with our one star. And do you know that our star is moving at 800,000 kilometers an hour? They can figure this out by relativity theory, by calculating fixed points. They figured this out. And in that galaxy of 250 billion stars, there are 100 billion planets just like our Earth. Imagine that. Can you imagine? It's mind-boggling to think about how just our galaxy, right? Just our galaxy alone is moving. And since we've been here for the last hour now, we went 800,000 kilometers through time and space together. That's the truth. That's the reality. Right? Let's go again. So here's us. What on earth is going on? So Earth is 150 million kilometers from the sun. We know that. They figured it out. They measured it. And we know that by calculating that with mathematics, 2 pi r is the mathematics. They could figure out that the orbit around the sun of our planet is 940 million kilometers around. And because they could figure that out, they know that it takes us 8,766 hours to complete one orbit. And in the last hour, we've gone 107,000 kilometers together on our orbit around the sun. 107,000 kilometers. And it takes 2.6 million kilometers for the Earth to move in one day on that orbit. So from the time you got up, from midnight last night till midnight tonight, you'll have traveled 2.68 million kilometers on Earth. All of us. Let's go again. So back to self now. The universe is almost 14 billion years old, give or take 40 million or so. And we've traveled in the last 12 weeks from session 1 till now. Whoops, what's going on here? From session 1 till now. Is that you unplugging? Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So the universe is 14 million years old, give or take 40 million or so. And since we started doing this series with Renee 12 weeks ago, we've traveled together 218 million kilometers around our sun. Together. And it's time we don't get back. You don't get any of that time back. So people who were good with numbers figured this out too. And I read the articles on it. These are great big science whiz mathematicians. They figured out that every single one of us beat 400 trillion to 1 odds to even exist. Time we don't get back. And if somebody wants to take your time away from you out of your life, you have to set up now some rules about that. Because somebody's asking you for a part of your life that you don't get back. The point in time and space where you were born, the point in time and space where you go on your walk, no one else has that point in time, those points in time and space. And the universe has only one you. And that's what self-care and being selfish is about. You beat 400 trillion to 1 odds of even being here like all of us. And we don't get the time back that we have spent together on our journey around that in the last, let's see, 120 kilometers now that we've been on our path around the planet. One more slide. So I want to be better every day. Why would I want to be any worse? And when we all start thinking about like that, we all want to make the world a better place. Why would we want to make it any worse? And that's just a simple way of thinking. There's nothing philosophy about that. It's just the reality of it. I want to turn it back, and I'm going to put off my microphone and leave it to the Dudas and to Deha Hande to jump in to think about that picture that was painted for you about how big it all is, but there's only one you. In all of that, in that entire reality, there is only one Gail, and there's only one Renee, and there's only one Deha Hande, right? And there's only one Jody.
We also can.
And that's so true. You know, they always forget that our body speaks to us. And whenever we want to feel special, whenever we want it, the young used to do this, hey. And I was told that the most beautiful thing, if you look at your thumb, it looks like the universe. It looks like the universe. And what really is important is that you are the only one. This is how the Creator knows you. And that is amazing. Look at how many. I had come from a big family, and yet I am the only one. This is how it is, so simple to show all of us that we have come from the universe, and you'll see the universe is right in our thumb. All those circles. And all those, that's our history right there. It's in our hands. And we forget to learn about how our hands talk about, you're the only one. We come here for a purpose. We're very special. And what we like to know is where do I fit in this world? The most important thing is you have a purpose. And that's where you go. Anytime you want your spirit lifted, you always just go, hey, I'm here. I'm different. And we're all supposed to feel different. And that's what everybody feels when they're growing up. I feel different than everyone else. Yes, we feel different because we come from the universe. We come from the universe. And each of us came here for a very special reason. And just like Uncle Mike said, to create a better world. That's our purpose, is to create a better world. And how do we do it? This is from our heart. To bring peace, Peace. It's our instructions written in our hands. This here is from our right. to do things right, we must always SHARE, share that peace. We're not to hold it up, because every time we do this, we put it back and harm ourselves. When we use that force, we harm ourselves first. And so, in order not to harm ourselves, we have to go like this. This is how our people greeted them a long time ago. We extended that energy of peace to share, because we were ahead of the game. We already could know their spirit, and that's why we say in the language, how is your peace? Where, that relationship way in here, because all we had to do was just scan them, and we knew that they need to be lifted. And so what do? We connect their universe with our universe. We bring those two universes together and showing that we all belong. And this is why a handshake is so important. This is why they said take hold. And that's what they would use. That's how they greet it, is to let that universe energy flow from, and so that we know that we're here for a purpose. And so.
Wow. We could go for hours and hours on this subject. I was in Poland, and this man presented me with this gift, and this gift was this crystal, and this crystal, it looked like a shelf, and then on the shelf there was like all of those points you're talking about, like, and he said this represents our universe. He said this is our ledge. He says, but we're not the only ledge in the whole, system. So we have to also look at that, and so it makes your mind expand to way beyond where you think you can, because we're living on this shelf and it contains all of those statistics that you say, what about those other shelves, and how do we connect with those? So one of the interesting things that I took was biochem. So I had to go back and I had to take biochem for my phytotherapy program. And I says, oh my gosh, how am I going to live through biochem? And the very first thing, of course, we talked about was the cell, the structure of the cell. So, the structure of the cell, every cell has a brain. And so then it looks like a universe. So every cell also represents kind of like a universe. So look at the universe that we're connected to. How many trillions of cells do we have within our makeup? So again, these questions ask your mind to expand beyond what it consciously knows, because we're actually living in a time of magic. Like, for him to show me that shelf and to talk about each of those points representing, all of the different solar systems, and then, correlating the connection to the all of those, I guess all of those teachings that we have about where we come from, and about all of those cells being interconnected. Boy, we are connected to everything, and that's, that answers that how are we connected question that comes up all the time. And it doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter where you're from. The cell doesn't differentiate any of that. So we're tied to something far beyond what our minds can comprehend. So I'll just leave that at that. And Adea Hande, come on and share some kind words.
Look at what we invited you into on a Friday afternoon.
It's a wonderful start. As a matter of fact, many of the issues that were not issues, but conversation sections that you brought up already is tied into our original instructions. And all my knowledge, well, almost all my knowledge anyway, comes from the language. And so when you talk about connections, yes, that is a definite fact. And when Uncle Mike there was talking about the vastness of it all, that's already explained in our language. And somebody talked about time and space. And that's a very interesting topic, in a sense that in our language, time and space is the same thing. And it's kind of like I use metaphors to explain what that means. It's kind of like being in a river. And if you're in a river, you're in a canoe or something, or in your rubber tire or whatever it is that you use to float around with. That time is now. That's where you are in that river. And upriver is the past, and downriver is the future. So in a sense, that sort of explains this connection that we have. We're instructed by our ancestors to be able to, they talk about 7 generations. And so if you think about that 7 generations, and one explanation that stuck with me is 7 generations. We can easily look back 3 generations. We can easily look forward 3 generations and see the grandchildren. We can look back and see the grandparents. And we're right in the center, and that creates the balance. And our language is all about balance. So illness, when that happens, it's because of an imbalance. And so we're given the tools, we're given the intelligence to be able to use our instructions. It's called intelligence. This entire cosmos is made up of an intelligent energy that put all of this, what we know here on Earth and what we know in the sky world, into play. It connected everything, and we call this connection the web of life. And so that's just sort of like a preview into what's coming. In the sense, the first part of my presentation will be about our original instruction, and it tells us about all of those connections and why it's important.
So, thank you, Wegi. Gail and Duda's, Gail and Renee and I don't mind being your warm-up act. It's humility before humiliation. Remember that whole thing. Humility overcomes humiliation. I'd like to say though that before we sign off for today, I'm so happy to have been around with Grandmother's Voice for the last 219 million kilometers over the last 12 weeks.
Whoa.
I appreciate that. And the journey with you is like, we don't get this back. And we made every minute together count, I believe, anyways. And I just want to say that everything that we've talked about comes down to real easy things, when it comes to our life here. Everybody gets to eat. Everybody gets to be happy. And everybody gets to be healed. Nobody eats until we all eat. Nobody's happy until we're all happy. Nobody's healed till we're all healed. How much more complicated can it be? Can life be? That's what we do for each other. And that's I think, what all we've been talking about. So I appreciate your kind attention to what I had to say, and I'm taking away a lot of thinking about what I've heard from people who've been here as well. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Grandma Renee, did you want to say something?
Yes. It's so a powerful day today to have two male and 2 female, bringing that balance, and the younger one in the middle to guide us. And we look forward to having more of these, as this is what it is all about, is time, spending time and sharing each other's their input. And this is what we call Indian time, spending time and enhancing our lives. This is self-care. This is what the pandemic is all about, is self-care. We wouldn't have been able to do this because we would have been everybody in their 4 directions. always on the go. But with Creator's intervention, the ancestors, here we are together to share what is needed to bring peace back, to build bridges, to reunite our body, mind, heart, and spirit together. And we're doing it in a way that we had the supervision of a young person to guide us, and we're very grateful. So thank you to all. And I no wonder I feel tired.
Yeah, this was an
I have naps in the afternoon. Not so far.
This was an unexpected pleasure, and it's been a wonderful afternoon. And when I think of self healing, I think of how easy it is. Take a walk in nature. Touch a tree, hug a tree. Sit under a tree. Work with medicines, touch with the medicines. We're in a world where we complicate everything, and we simply need to find that simplicity in our lives, and that will take us back to, and that's what they or we mean, I guess, or they mean when we talk about, well, you can't go back to the way it was. And well, we are the way it was. It's just that we've changed some of our habits, but we're still the way it was. We still have all of those resources close to us. So we just need to understand, how to do that again, how to connect back to nature. It's as simple as taking a walk. So, with that, it's been a pleasure, and I hope that the words that we shared were powerful for some of you, and it helps you on your journey.
Yeah.
Deyahande, would you like to say anything before we sign off? I would like to just share a couple of things that are coming up, but I would love for you to have a minute to say see ya. Send us some nice words.
It's just fascinating hearing everybody's teachings that we're sharing, and they all blend together. That's the beauty of it all. And we each bring our own gifts because just the way things are. And that's why we talk about, looking into our history. And one of the things that sort of is very symbolic is that circle wampum. And it's got two strings on the outside. And that's the male and female energy entwined together. That being said, then we have everything on the inside of that. So we have all the wisdom on the inside of that. We have all our children in there. We have all our elders in there. And I don't mean elders the way they coin the phrase, but I'm talking about those people that are ill. All of those things are in there. And when we say we take ourselves out of that, that's when we find imbalance. And so I just wanted to bring that imbalance back into perspective, because we were given these instructions and we were told why we were here in this world, and our memories were erased. And so when we came through that portal, which was our mother, that portal then erased all of that thing, that our previous existence. So then we came into this world with a purpose, and that purpose was to gather information, because when we leave through another portal, then we were instructed to take that knowledge with us. So in a teardrop, that would be our purpose here in life. It's to do exactly what we're doing right now. Now,
I am so full of love right now. Like and I'm just taking this moment, Uncle Mike, I'm going to jump into your Friday afternoon just for 2 minutes of your time to just tell you how full of love and gratitude I am right now. So many times this hour, I tried to stop from smiling And anybody that knows me, I don't know that I stop smiling, but in this moment, my cheeks are so feeling joy and happiness for what you shared with us over the last 7 weeks, 14 weeks, and all of those days and hours and time. But I am so excited now to hang out with Hyundai, because I also love everything that you just said about traveling through the portals and your purpose and living, and I'm just in so much joy. I don't know what I did to deserve this besides waking up and surrendering to wanting to know what my ancestors needed me to do. And this is the most powerful gift in the world right now. Like, this is so amazing. And everyone that's watching that has sent these beautiful messages about love, and I thought you were going to hug me there. I thought she was going to hug me. I'm like, hug me, touch me. You know, this is what we're doing here is really, this is all of our dreams. This is all of everything that you have taught me from the moment I met you, Renee and Gail, and encouraged all of this. It's real. This is real, really happening. And I believe that this is a portal. My little space here, I must be in a portal here because there's some magic here happening. And so I'm just going to put up some of these beautiful messages while I just tell everyone that in the next, I'm going to say 6 to 8 weeks, there's some amazing things happening here in Halton, and what we've created with these beautiful elders, grandmothers, uncles. Our center is opening. I'm feeling like I'm doing way too much in this moment. We have a center that we are designing and coming together and creating. And we have Dennis Wendigo in 2 weeks that's coming to support our community members. He's amazing. His what he shares is powerful. And Uncle Mike, this was a beautiful way to lead us into Mental Health Week next week. You know, we've had some short conversations that through this week, and I believe that you just created a beautiful platform for people to watch and prepare themselves for change and for shifting the way that they think about mental health and about who they are as a person. And that I really do believe that we've come together to heal. And it's so amazing and powerful. And I don't know, this is just great. And Uncle Mike, do you work at any other university right now? Somebody asked that.
Nope.
No.
I'm just at Ryerson.
Just at Ryerson right now, but he's been around this far. Haven't you? Yeah, you've been around. So anyway, I think that this, what I'd like to also mention is that we have next week, we'll be celebrating the National Awareness for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. This is an American, I think, in the U.S., as they say, but we're Turtle Island. So, you know, the awareness there needs to be the awareness here. And whenever we can, we acknowledge the loss of, you know, the women that have traveled on, and the children and the family members. So we last year actually began our petition for a living monument to recognize the spirits, and we are creating it, and it's happening at our place in Milton. And Grandmother Renee, along with Minican Innovation and Design, have designed a beautiful living monument to honor the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. And so please watch for that next week. We will be live talking about what we've created and what we will continue to create. And so please go to our Facebook, go to our YouTube channels, watch our videos of these amazing elders and grandmothers and uncles that continue to show up and share knowledge to give us hope and peace for the future of what we're going to create together. How'd I do, Uncle Mike? Are you proud?
I'm glad to meet you, Jody.
Aw, me too.
Sure.
I'm
You
so
know,
sure.
think of 400 trillion to one odds that we would never meet if somebody did something
You
different,
know,
right?
I'm going to use that on my husband. I'm going to tell him. But
And I
we
got to
have to
say
go.
this though.
Oh, go
I have
ahead.
to
Yeah.
say this though. I think that there's a word, and I'll leave this with Dehahande that I heard from some of the elders. Rauhatsara Sa'a, who's the helpers. I don't know if that's angels. I don't know who they are, but they call it Rauhatsara. And I think that Dehahande, and I think that Gail, and I think that Renee have been here many times. And I'm so happy that they're here because they do such a good job at what they do to help people cope with what goes on down here. And I'm very pleased and grateful and gracious to be in their company. Thank you.
What?
Wow. Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
Look at that. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Go and join and the wind. I have to go collect the things that have been blowing by our house. For those of you who saw us watching the things flying, I feel like I'm in the Wizard of Oz. We love you all. We can't wait to see you. Sorry, I forgot to mention Dea Hande. He will be here next Friday with us to start an every other week series as well, and watch for what he will be bringing to us. We'll be really excited to see his playlist.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.